One. Fuck the music.
Are we live? Is it working?
And we are live.
Are you sure? Because it's not showing that you're live for me.
There's gonna be a delay. There's always a fucking
It says that
delay.
he's live now. I just have to
Alright.
reset the page.
Well, I'll just go ahead and start then. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Locked and Loaded. Welcome to No Jail for You. I am your host, Smart Pig, with my fellow host, Sergeant Buck. Say hello, Buck.
No.
And our less than coherent program manager, Pav. Say hello, Pav.
Hello, I am 2 pints into a really heavy alcohol. This is gonna be fun.
So how are you guys doing this evening? How have you all been for the last 2 weeks?
Busy. But not on anything constructive.
I'm busy on certain days, but yeah, I just got off work, and I'm done for the next 2 days, so I'm just drinking apparently.
Nice.
Always a good plan.
How about you, Buck?
I've got a lot of 3D shit done in the past couple of days. Been gearing up for a really fucking busy week of catering and had to deal with a lot of county bullshit.
County? Like what?
Oh, just like people calling around and going, "Hey, are you actually a legitimate business?" It's like, yes.
Wait, what?
It's a complicated thing. Something like where our address is, at least on Google Maps, it just shows a house. So someone was like, "Hey, I think these people are cooking out of their house," and they called the county, and we're like, "No,
Christ.
we just cook on site. We don't.
That's
we
odd.
don't have a kitchen, but we do more personal chef shit. So we take everything, and we go off and we do all the cooking there. So we don't have to worry about having a commercial kitchen because we use other commercial kitchens that are up to health code. So for this, it's like, just what the fuck?
So you listed, is it an LLC or is your company? I mean, is your company set up as an LLC that has the address of the house? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't know how it's set up. I just work here.
Okay.
They don't tell me the
Don't
dates
ask
or
me, I just
times.
work here.
They just tell me to make the food.
I just show up and be a hand. That's
Effectively.
all I am.
I know, we've got the right licensing. I know that. So when someone comes around, it'll be like, "Hey, you need this thing." It's like, well, this doesn't apply to us. So fuck off.
I've had a relatively busy last couple of weeks. Back on last Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Sunday, we had the 2A rally over in the state capitol. There was at the same time, every state capitol or very near to the state capitol had a 2A rally.
Except Olympia, as far as I know.
Well,
Yep,
yeah,
yep,
no,
Olympia.
there were some places that wouldn't allow them to get the permit because it was either booked or they didn't have the necessary fee, so on and so forth. So they just,
Wow.
put it somewhere else. They had the rally somewhere else. But yeah, we had a very massive patriot turnout. Several different organizations all showed up. We had a last count, the peak count was 1,300 people
Nice.
at that rally on a 2-day notice. But the difference between the reason ours was actually kind of small compared to what you see with all these rallies and stuff that are happening in DC and whatnot is we all actually knew what we were there for.
Okay.
Yeah. There were no paid actors or anything, but yeah, and everything else was just me really busy with work. I mean, we've been putting in a new service for a property where someone moved a double wide trailer onto it. So we had to dig a 100-foot long, 2-foot wide, and 2-foot deep trench to lay conduit down in, and then we pulled the wire on Monday for it, and
Mhm.
I made up the panel inside the double wide. It's interesting stuff. It's fun stuff. It's like it's
Oh boy, trench digging. I've
Is
had
it
to do.
even
I've had to do some of that.
construction?
I'm an electrician.
You're an electrician.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I
You didn't know this?
I no.
Yeah, no,
Like, I've
I'm
always heard you talk
and-
vaguely
well,
about this, but-
technically I'm still an electrician's helper, but electrician's an electrician, and it's just the difference is, I do all the grunt work where the other guy has all the knowledge.
And the
so to speak.
paperwork.
I've had to deal with a lot of different like electricians work because I do IT. Like I spend a lot of time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
running
well,
and
there's
running-
you work with work with class 2 and class 1, class
Cat
2
5.
voltages.
Yep. Yeah. No. That was never more apparent when our county asked us to run Ethernet through a bunch of the different like schools in the school districts up here in our county. And what happened was they had asked us, they're like, hey, can you run Cat 5 out to the the portables? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, but
And
Cat
then-
5 Cat 5 has a range of maybe 500 feet before you have to put a repeater in there.
Right, which is the reason why we set it up to where IDF was at the closest one, and then we just spread it out through there. But one of our illustrious employees decided, hey, we already have electric wire, like I don't remember what it's called, running from one of the portables out to another portable. Why don't we just attach it to the same runner?
Because reasons. Electromagnetic interference is a thing on alternating current.
Well, it's not just that. It's just like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
No, you're not.
So we had to go back and rerun.
So
the
was it how
fucking thing.
was it a big wire that's like being strung between the two buildings?
Yeah, no, it was just
It
like,
was a service feed then. That's called a service feed.
yeah, and we had to run it through, but we had to go back and just redo the whole thing and rerun it in different place. It was a great project. We kept because we had a ton of people who didn't know what they were doing. So
The usual.
I show up at one of the schools and they're like, oh yeah, they told us to run this through the beams. Oh, okay, all right. So I walk into the school. They drilled new holes in the beams.
Why would you do that?
And there were already holes on the other side of the beams. I'm like,
You don't need to. Was there space between the beams and the ceiling?
the beams came out of the ceiling, so they kind of they kind of stuck. So basically, right?
So
What
were
it was there was already pre-run like telephone wire, Ethernet wire, and all this kinds of stuff that already had a setup on their own runs. So instead of attaching them and following to the current runs that were already existing, they decided to create a whole new pathway for like 5 new wires.
Who did they get fired?
No,
I mean, you could technically do that. You could technically start a whole new run for it. It would make pulling it easier.
It wasn't
You-
needed.
Yeah, but it's easier to pull cable through a new run than it is to try and pull cable through an
You
existing
should've
run with
you
wire
should've
already in
seen
it.
these holes, my dude.
Were they massive?
Oh my god.
Did they make
I'm s-
Buck's butthole look like virgins.
Yeah. Like they like 5-inch holes in
Dang,
diameter.
dang.
Jeez.
It was
That is
like
that's
and
overkill.
one of them was a dual beam, and they just didn't decide. Oh, let's track to where we need to go. So they had to create 3 holes, which ended up just all on the same spot, which ended up causing it to just be.
Well, I've been in situations where the hole that I drilled wasn't going to work where it was, or I started a hole and couldn't finish it because with the beams, the uprights were too close together, and I couldn't get the drill in between them or whatever. But
Mm,
I mean, if there's already a hole big enough for you to pull everything through, why drill?
yep, there was, but no, it came down to a lack of actual communication between a lot of. So what the great thing about it was is when we got hired for the project, we were hired because the previous guys who were doing it were fired because they kept back talking the person who had subcontracted them. This whole thing, like when I found out like the whole thing is surrounding what had happened was is the school district was like, hey, we need someone to come and contract us. So a company out of Idaho came in, and we're in Washington, came in, and then they subcontracted to another company out of Montana. And they subcontracted it to another company, and they subcontracted it
Jeez.
to another company, and then they subcontracted it to just a random group of people in fucking Washington. And
Wow.
then they started back talking the lowest on the total pool subcontractor, which then which was like, no, you're fucking fired because you can't do your fucking job. And so what had happened was one of the guys who had his own company, who had just been brought on to help these random group of people, decided to be like, oh, hey, why don't you continue it? I know you have a group of people that you work with. You keep doing it, and we'll come down there in like 3 weeks or something to kind of like because we deal with only like the Ethernet. We're installing like
Yeah.
access points and all that kind of stuff, and like working with the IDF and the MDF.
Yeah, access drops.
Right, and so he brought me, and then a bunch of random people in to help him. And so we're going through this whole thing, and there was one day that we had to go back. We had to do this off the clock, otherwise they would fire us. Because
Wow.
people who were running the wire through like the drop down ceilings were laying them on top of the drop down ceilings instead of connecting them to the above wire to keep them off the drop down ceilings. Now, if you don't know what a drop down ceiling
I know
is,
what it is. It's
for the
just
audience. Right, for the audience, you have a
oh
ceiling
yeah.
and then you have a second ceiling below it, and the second ceiling below it is actually created to be dissolvable in water, so that when there's a fire, the sprinklers come down, dissolve the drop down ceiling, and then fill up the entire place with water.
They're also
This
aesthetics. I mean,
right, it is
the
very
ceiling
much
is usually made out of concrete, and it's kind of
right,
it
right,
makes making changes and additions and rewiring and things like that easier in the
right,
long
right.
run.
And so laying the fucking wire and using the drop down ceiling as the place to lay it down on is, well, A, it's against code. It's like a $5,000 fine if
Yes.
you have like someone walk through there. But B,
Not
if
only
there was
that,
ever
but the
a
journeyman in
fire,
charge and the journeyman in charge will lose his freaking license.
yeah, very much so. But they, um, if there's ever a fire, those wires are coming down because there's no
Fuck.
longer a ceiling there because
Yeah,
they
and
dissolve under the water.
not only that, but the jacket on Cat 5 is flammable.
Oh, very much so.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, very much so. Uh,
No, there's codes for the wiring in high rises, right?
Mhm.
Most houses 2-story and below they use what is called Romex, slang in its non-metallic sheathed cable, right? But you're not allowed to use it above 2 stories. The reason being is if a fire starts on the bottom story, that fire can go up that cable trace, that cable run, because the jacket's flammable.
Right, and that's the reason
Once
why
it reaches, yeah, once it reaches a certain temperature, it burns real good.
right, and that's the reason why you create an MDF for each floor, or an IDF for each floor. An IDF is just a giant like place where they like put plug in all of the different Ethernet cables that connect to the wireless routers throughout the floor. So you create one for each, allowing it to kind of like just like what's the term I'm looking for? Cut back on the danger, I guess. I don't know.
It's not so much to cut back on the danger. Well, I mean it is, but the term is more I don't even know either. Anyways, I think
We
it's
have
time
been
for us
talking
to
about this. Yeah, we have been.
yeah.
We-
I think it's time for us to move on and actually start the show that
So
people came here to
I could-
watch.
I could
Right,
share
so
engineering stories all day, but yeah.
yeah, sorry guys. I used a little too much jargon as well. I apologize. But today's show we're kind of just going to go over a few different things. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the fact that Count Dinkula's verdict has been he's been given what it like his sentencing is going to
Yeah,
be.
he's been sentenced.
He's been sentenced. Thank you.
He
That's
was
the
the
exact
verdict
term.
was already the verdict was already
Right.
passed down and whatnot.
Sorry, guys, I'm drunk. I'm very. I would also
Go
like
home
to
drunk.
apologize.
I'm Pav.
I'm. Yes. So we're gonna show you two different things, and before we actually jump into this article, because I see that Buck has a place up there, the BBC news article. Now
Yep.
I've read the one by the Guardian, the one by CBS, the one by BBC, the one by a few other ones, and every single one of them that I've read has been non-opinionated, and it's been really weird to me. Like,
That's odd.
they've presented like yeah, you read through this, they just all they say is like they give you Count Dankula's or Mark Meechan his account of what's going on, and they kept like repeating his account, and then they also would give the judge's account of what was going on, and none of them have been like just inherently biased against him.
They haven't been misrepresenting like they normally do.
No, like they just land
That's
the fact.
certainly
Like,
different.
we'll read through this one, and
Very much
this one
so.
is just almost exactly word for word of the other ones that I've read. So let's go into it.
All
All
right.
right.
You want to read this one?
Sure.
All right.
All right.
Take it away.
Man fined for hate crime after filming Pug's Nazi salutes, aka local man did nothing wrong. A man who filmed a pet dog giving Nazi salutes before putting the footage on YouTube has been fined £800. Mark Meechan, 30, recorded his
So all he's
girlfriend's
got to
pug.
go is all he has to do is go to a pub and find a fat chick,
Yeah.
and he's good.
Well, actually, I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys have ever heard about this. Count Tickle did a stream last night, and he got a shit ton of super chats, and I'm pretty sure there was enough there to pay off the entire amount.
Oh, that's badass.
Right? But yeah, keep going.
Find that man and make Super Chat pay for it.
Oh, he's 30. I thought he was closer to. I thought he was around 25. Oh well.
Oh, whatever. Mark Meechan, 30, recorded his girlfriend's pug, Buddha, responding to statements such as "Sieg Heil" by raising its paw. The clip
Yep, that's a violation.
The clip was viewed more than 3 million times on YouTube. Meechan of
With
Coatbridge.
no complaints made.
No, not on YouTube. No.
No, none. No, the police didn't receive any complaints either. They admitted to that in the
I
trial.
I do think that since the trial, the video's been put in a limited state.
Eh.
Fucking a.
Let me go find it.
I'll stop interrupting you
confirm
now.
that.
Meechin of Coatbridge, North. Is that
How do you
Lanarkshire or is it Lancashire?
Lanarkshire.
Fucking
I don't know.
Lanarkshire. But
It's freaking Scotland.
I mean,
Who the hell
it's
knows?
like Edinburgh and Edinburgh.
It's like they make all their sounds with their throat somehow.
Yeah. Fucking Welsh. Meechin was sentenced.
I swear to
at-
God, he's gonna reach through that screen and punch the shit out of you if you call him Welsh. I swear.
Oh, he'll just fucking claymore me to death. Not sword, landmine.
What's wrong with the sword?
I never said anything's wrong with it.
Why would he not use the weapon of our people?
Okay, how about a sword with a landmine on it?
That would be interesting. I need to make this now.
Meechin was sentenced at Airdrie Sheriff Court after being found guilty of committing a hate crime last month. He had denied any wrongdoing and insisted he made the video, which was posted in April 2016, to annoy his girlfriend. So this has been going on for the better part of fucking 2 years. Jesus.
No, they made him freaking unplayable for 2 years. But to confirm something, yes. The Mate Your Dog's a Nazi, which was the original video that we were talking
It's not
about.
dog, it's Doug.
Your dog's...
Mate, your dog is Nazi.
Thank you. Has been put into a limited state. It wasn't until probably I'd say like last year, but for the majority of the time of that has been going on, it was completely free for everybody, or like free of all this kind of stuff for everybody to view. Like it's only recently been put into the limited state, but the limited state is new, so.
That's fucked. A joke in limited state. It's that bad. But Sheriff Derek O'Carroll found him guilty of a charge under the Communications Act that he posted a video on social media and YouTube, which was grossly offensive because it was anti-Semitic and racist in nature, and was aggravated by religious prejudice. Holy shit.
Okay.
Was this the same guy that gave a fucking high schooler a community service sentence for posting rap lyrics on Instagram?
Oh
Jesus
my
fuck.
God.
I don't know. I don't think so because the chick that got the community service is down in
How late do you go?
closer to London, I think,
Britain.
if not in.
She's in Britain, where this was Scottish courts.
Who fucking wrote this article?
Oh,
It doesn't say who wrote this article.
it does not. I agree. It says
Doesn't say at all who wrote this article. What the fuck? Usually they put it like right there at the top with the right after the title.
yeah. It's
Anywho,
you can go.
did we lose Buck? Did we lose him?
Sort of. See, when you live where you work, your boss can bother you at any time.
Throw objects at her the next time she comes in while you're streaming.
She signs my paychecks. What
I
am
didn't
I,
say
a
they had
fucking
to be hard
communist?
objects. I didn't say they had to be hard objects.
You just start throwing noodles at her.
That implies I keep spaghetti in my room at all times. I mean, I keep dropping
did?
it everywhere I go, but...
We were talking about pool noodles. Thank you very much.
Oh. Yeah, where the hell am I going to put those?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you could fit a couple in your asshole, but whatever.
You can hang them on your wall.
Oh, man.
Ooh. You could totally make a boffer claymore out of those things. I swear.
Flimsiest claymore
Yeah,
in existence.
my geek colors are showing. Go ahead.
Oh, I like this bit, the sheriff's statement. I haven't heard this yet, so. Finding Meechin 800 pounds, which is about, I think it's $1,100 US. The sheriff told him, the centerpiece of your video consists of you repeating the phrase, gas the Jews, over and over again as a command to a dog which then reacts. You use the command Sieg Heil, having trained the dog to raise its paw in response, and the video shows a clip of a Nuremberg rally and a flashing image of Hitler with strident music. You say the video was only intended as a joke to upset your girlfriend, whose dog you used, and nothing more. On the whole evidence, I found it proved that the video you posted using a public communications network was grossly offensive and contained menacing, anti-Semitic, and racist material. Ooh. Call Big Brother. We got a live one here.
I'd rather not call him. He's kind of an asshole.
Just a bit. What the? There's a fucking
Just a
strong
bit.
language warning on this? Really? Wow.
I mean,
You want to play the video
Sure.
then? I'm interested to see the
I'm
video.
curious too.
All right, let's play it.
All right. Oh, come on.
The video was originally a prank on my girlfriend because she has a pet pug called Buddha who she keeps ranting and raving about how cute and adorable he is and he's the cutest thing ever. So to annoy her, I thought it would be funny to turn him into the worst thing that I could think of, which is a Nazi. My girlfriend is always
Explains
ranting
the
and raving
context
about how
twice.
cute and adorable her wee dog is. And so I thought I would turn him into the least cute thing that
Which
I
is
could
the sad
think
thing
of,
about it.
which is a Nazi. So I trained him to get excited when I say, you know, the phrase, and also to raise his paw in a Nazi salute whenever I say Sieg Heil. Just for the juxtaposition of a cute pug dog being compared to one of the worst things ever, which is a Nazi. Used on its own, with absolutely no context, I can completely understand why people would be worried about that. For example, if I just uploaded a video of my face, just saying that phrase over and over again, then I would 100% the police to be at my door. I would completely understand them being there, but the important thing was I gave context as to why I was saying the phrase.
jeez. I got serious all of a sudden.
This is some pretty fucking dramatic music. The fuck? Oh, fuck off, Sheriff. Fucking gee.
Absolutely no.
No, because I think it highlighted a very, very important problem in our country. One thing that we're basically wanting to do is protect free speech. To actually get these laws changed, I'd be quite happy with not going to prison, but then all it means is I can just continue what I'm doing. I can just continue working and fighting for free speech in the UK.
Oh,
I'm very confused on where the strong language was in that video. I'm not entirely sure. Like he said Sieg Heil, but that was used within the context of explaining it. Like there was no swear words or anything. I'm confused. But yeah, but this is what I mean by it. He allowed him to explain the context and his entire argument against why he did something wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. I mean,
No, he didn't.
Right. They keep allowing him to present his argument without twisting it, which was really interesting to me based off of how this entire thing has gone down. Like, granted, yes, they are quoting a lot of what they're saying, but all they're doing is quoting. I haven't seen a single thing throughout this entire article that has given an opinion of or even tried to just kind of like muddy the water in what he has said, except for one thing, and you'll come across it as you keep reading the article. I'll mention it later.
Okay.
But yeah, keep going.
well, actually, go ahead and mention it now. I mean,
Oh,
Do we
okay,
really need to read the whole freaking article?
We do get the. We're like
okay.
even like not even a third of the way through it, my dude.
Oh, really? Are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
actually a pretty
apologize.
it's a pretty beefy article, buddy.
I
You don't
didn't
gotta
realize to grab
apologize.
this one.
It's all right. No, I
So-
mean it's a good article. It's just it's beefy.
All right, so there's one line. The first time it mentions Tommy Robinson, and you all know who Tommy Robinson is, right?
All right, let's what
So-
part
so it
where
says-
where does it say where does it mention Tommy Robbins?
Or literally right after this video that we just watched. So I'll read it out. Meechin was just supported in court by. It says by twice. Let's go down 3 paragraphs
All right, I'm looking.
from. Meechin was supported by. No, this,
Topics.
3 paragraphs.
See, that's
under
what
the video.
happens when your stutter starts manifesting in what you type.
All right. By Tommy Robinson, former leader of the far-right group, the English Defense League. Now, every time they mention
here it is.
Tommy Robinson, after that they mention former leader of the far-right group. Every single time they say his name. Now, being a scriptwriter, you do that the first time, and then as you keep going, you go on with the. You keep going with.
Oh my god, it does.
Yeah, and it just keeps saying it over and over and over whenever they say Tommy.
Also
Robinson.
present was Tommy Robinson, ex-leader of the far-right English Defense League. We get it.
Right, and it kept saying it, and you don't need to say
Well,
that.
it only from what I see here, they only actually mentioned Tommy Robinson twice. The first time, and then the last time's in the end of it.
I was counting the picture that they.
Oh,
the
okay.
description of the picture, I guess.
But seriously, holy crap!
Also a little drunk. So,
You're more than a little there, buddy. You're just a little bit more than a little. I'm just,
I mean, how
no.
do I sound?
Just letting you know.
extremely drunk? Do I sound
No,
extremely
you're just you. We can just tell because you're.
You're not
A
slurring your
little.
words, but you're not as coherent as you usually are.
I apologize.
Stop apologizing and just drink more.
There's a reason I
Gosh.
call it locked and loaded, for fuck's sake. Come on.
Yeah. All right.
Don't feel bad.
What's the next? What is the next topic of discussion for the evening?
Actually, before we go on to the next topic of the discussion, I have a little video, and this kind of is an example of something that I wanted to point out. It is
Okay.
very much connected to the article that we read.
Okay.
It is this. It is,
I know what you're talking about.
Yep. So if you're in show construction, there, Buck. It's the video, the Twitter video right on.
Oh yeah, I see it. I see it.
Yep.
All right, let's bring this in center here. God damn it, Twitter.
The visits Paul and a Nazi sword. You said gas was used 23 times. What's funny about that?
The context of it is the juxtaposition of having an adorable animal react to something vulgar. That was the entire point of the joke. Have you seen the video?
Do you accept
Yeah,
you committed a
it's,
crime?
Have you seen the video?
I have.
It's a
Right,
good
again,
one.
so I've explained the context in it, so why are you asking me again?
Well, the context is that you've been fined £800 for a crime that
No,
you
we're
committed.
talking
What
about
the
context
fuck?
now.
No,
We
it's
don't
not.
need to move on
And
there.
we had in court.
Yeah, can I
that
just
you-
ask, why did
we
you-
had in court that
No.
you committed gross offence against.
I mean,
a
you're
large
talking to a
community
guy
of-
who's
6
completely
million
shaved
Jews
bald,
killed in
has
the
no
Holocaust.
You just
eyebrow,
said the statement
has
a
no
couple seconds
facial
ago.
hair
Why should I consider
whatsoever.
your context if you're not concerned in mine?
Look at this guy. He
You've
looks like
broken
a
the law.
freaking
You regret
skinhead.
breaking the
You
law.
just broke the law 2 seconds ago when you said the phrase. Remember,
That
context
haircut
matters.
needs context.
You see, what we have here is a hitman who's doing a really bad job of blending in.
You see the color of his head? That's all makeup. That's all foundation.
Right, but see,
He's actually got a barcode on the back of his head and swastikas all over it.
So what I wanted to kind of point out from this video is something that I've noticed every single time that Dankula has been put in front of the media, and it's something that I really wanted to like highlight. Dankula has surprised and impressed me time and time again. Every single time he gets put in front of a reporter, he is calm, he is clear, and he handles them very, very well. I was actually mentioning this very much so to Pig before we started the stream, is I have been extremely impressed with how Dankula is able to control. Like the point, like made in the video, the reporter says, 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. Dankula doesn't even touch it. He doesn't even touch it. That was a bait. That statement was a bait statement to get him into saying something that would make him something else. But the way that Dankula has been able to handle the media is extremely impressive, and I every single time I see it, I'm blown away with how well he can handle it. I don't know.
Yeah,
if I could handle
he's
the
an
media.
incredibly intelligent and well-spoken man.
For being an edgy boy. But he's our edgy boy.
He's very well spoken, very intelligent. For those of you guys, keep going.
Yeah, he's constantly. He even said it himself. He's constantly reading now. He's
Yeah.
going through and he's improving his understanding of politics and political discussion and philosophy. It's
Right.
interesting to just see the massive difference the last 2 years have made on him. And it's
Yeah, very much so. If you go off and you look at his channel, there's a video called "Bring Your Own Chair," and it is, in my opinion, one of the best videos I've ever seen.
I think it's one of the
It is
best videos he's done, but not necessarily the best videos I've ever seen.
I said
It
one
is
of
the best. It is the best video that he's ever done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's a really solid. His analysis of the book that he is referencing within it is just really, really good, and he explains something that I guess seems like common knowledge, but he explains it in such a way that it just like blows me away. It was really good. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
So he's very well spoken.
I look forward to the works that he does in the future.
Yeah, his whole focus on philosophy and politics sounds exactly what happened to me when I got kicked out of that dorm. It's like, well, something ain't right.
I mean, sure.
I don't know.
He does really well, and I'm very impressed. I can't wait to see where he goes from this. I
Alright.
hope this doesn't affect him too much as far as the conviction goes.
I fully I will put money on a very active career in activism.
Yes.
if not politics.
I mean, if yeah, I think activism. If not for free speech, then definitely traps.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we do have other topics, but
Yes, we do.
enough gushing about our Lord and Savior God Dankula. So
Your Lord and Savior.
Thank you. I will eventually convert you.
Infidel.
Sorry, if there's any pantheon that I will swear my allegiance to, it would be the family of Odin. Thank you very much. Anyways,
Fair.
moving
For
on.
now.
For now.
So the next articles that we have got brought up are they're a little bit skewed. So I was reading the Seattle Times the other day, yesterday, the Sunday Seattle Times, and I had came across the opinion section within the Seattle Times. There were a few articles in there that caught my attention, and I kind of wanted to just get them out there for you guys. And one of them is slightly relevant to something that has happened over the past week, which would be the whole racist Starbucks situation. The other one is more of a broad sense, and it was the name that captured me. Yes. All right.
I think I finally found something that gets sunburnt. A little triggered.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, take a look at the.
up in general.
Are
take
you
a look at
upsetting my
General.
girlfriend? Is that what's going on? You're upsetting.
Oh,
my
she's your girlfriend now.
She's always been my girl. Well,
I-
but she's been my girlfriend for like what the past 2 months. No. Okay. All right. Okay. So, the next article we are going to read is titled "Thank You, Starbucks." for complying to the reality of implicit bias. If you want to pull that up there,
Oh yeah, that one. Okay, hang on. Let me pull it
um,
up.
definitely, I would say pig read this one. So this again, these are inherently connected to people in just Washington State. So I don't know how skewed they are
All
going to
right.
be towards people who live here, but
Well, it's
How
Starbucks.
how can this be published on April 22nd and updated on April 20th?
I was looking at that too. It's like, wait, what the fuck?
Okay, so um this opinion article was written by Leonard Pitts Jr., syndicated columnist. Syndicated. What does that even mean?
he writes opinion articles.
It's
for
like being a
the Seattle
tenured
Times.
professor. Doesn't mean shit.
Am I too quiet?
No, you sound good.
Yeah, your girlfriend says that you are. Okay, so,
Buck, if you want to turn me up a little.
I can turn up the
and
overall
she also
audio.
said check your phone.
She's sending me things. Oof.
Let's try that.
Okay. All right. I will
Alright,
put that
so-
down for a second.
Starting with the article, racism is a white problem. Holy crap.
Well,
I know that many white people will instinctively and emphatically resist that observation. They'll note the self-evident truth that prejudice is confined to no one culture or color. Having known more than a few African American bigots, homophobes, and anti-Semites, I'll be happy to concede the point. So what's the
what
point? But racism is more than prejudice. It is rather the system by which prejudice is encoded into laws and customs of society so that blah 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 blah. So, two black men can be arrested for waiting quietly on a prospective business associate to arrive for a meeting at Starbucks. Okay, first of all,
Do you want to?
Starbucks is not a fucking public space. Starbucks is a. Go ahead.
I'll bring in some anecdotal evidence here. So I don't remember how much this actually goes into the entire concept of the entire thing. I think this is just opinion on what happens like afterwards. So for those who don't know about the Starbucks situation, a little while ago, there were two black men who walked into a Starbucks in Pennsylvania, and
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, thank you. They decided they weren't going to buy any coffee, but they were going to sit there. And then one of them got up and wanted to use the bathroom. The employer responds with, "No, the bathroom is only for paying customers." They were then asked, after saying, "All right, never mind, buy something, or could you please leave?" They were then asked. They said no to both things, and then they were asked again to leave. So, what happened after this was the manager called the cops, and which is something that you do when someone won't leave your property when you've asked them to. And the cops showed up, and the cops asked them to leave. Cops were very calm,
Several
very
times.
polite. Yes, they asked them several times, and they kept getting a response of, "No, we're not going to leave." So finally, the cops arrested them and took them out of the Starbucks. No,
They were
I
only
have-
they were only detained for about 8 hours before they were released because Starbucks
Starbucks
chose to
refused.
drop the charges.
Correct. They just wanted them. They like you could even just say that they just wanted them off their property. Now, for me, like anecdotally, I have worked in fast food, and I worked at a Subway. And whenever I had to deal with someone who would just sit down, come in, sit down, and not buy anything, I was told by my manager to ask them to leave. And eventually they would probably leave. This is not a uncommon thing.
No, not at
We
all.
have a word-
Especially in busy places.
Yes.
And
we
a
have a word for
Starbucks
it, it's called loitering.
a Starbucks in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I mean, holy crap! It's probably has hundreds of people going throughout there every single day, I mean, they were sitting down at a table. They weren't buying anything. They were just sitting down, taking up space that could be used by paying customers. And correct me if I'm wrong, but according to the what is it? Commissioner or the chief of the police department of Philadelphia, they weren't even described as black men in the
You know,
police
there's
call
just said
in the
two men.
911 call. It's like, hey, I've got two gentlemen here. They're refusing to buy anything. They're also refusing to leave. Can you come in and handle the situation, please? So the guys they came in and it was it's totally understandable. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, Latino, freaking if you're walking around with your skin permanently dyed purple. If you're on a private property, which a business is private property, then you have to have a reason for being there. You have to have permission to be there.
Right.
And if the owner or proprietor of said property asks you to leave, you are legally required to leave because your permission to be there has been revoked.
Yeah.
Right. So for from my perspective, from what I've had to deal with, is when you're dealing with a business such as like Starbucks, they have very limited amount of space to seat people. Each one of the spaces that are like a table or a chair is worth money. It is worth money because it's based on like how much people they can seat and all these kinds of things. If you were to buy something, you would have had paid for those seats. It's like kind of an unsaid agreement of the way most things like coffee shops and fast food
You've
stores.
paid for the use of the
Right.
seating, you've paid for the use of the Wi-Fi. Well, they advertise free Wi-Fi, but
Right,
and you've paid for the use of the facilities.
right. And so for those kinds of companies having people sit down and not paying at all, I think that's something that's the most crazy to me about this entire situation. Is they refuse to buy something.
It's
They would
it's
just-
less than $2 for a
Yeah,
cup
no.
of black coffee.
Right. They could have just bought coffee. They could have bought tea. I used to
They
have to
could've-
go to a Starbucks
They could
every
have ordered
single
a
morning
fucking.
after.
They wanted to get something free. Just order a fucking cup of water.
Right.
Boom.
And so after because I was the one with the car, so I'd have to drop off my little brother at school. It's 7 in the morning, and then I had work at 10, so I just stop. I'd go from after dropping him off, I'd sit down in a Starbucks from like 7:30 was around when I got there to when I had to leave, which is like 10 o'clock. And I had to buy something every single time I sat down there. It's kind of just an understood thing. If you're going to take up space within a business, you're going to have to pay for that space. Now, it's not that much. It's like $2-3. I would get tea every morning. I would get the largest tea they had, and that was barely $2.
Ted, you drank tea.
I drink tea.
Little wussy.
I like tea. I don't like coffee.
What
I
the
like
hell
coffee.
is wrong with you? I have not influenced you enough at this point. You need to start liking coffee.
See, I
I actually used to work for a coffee shop. Like I ran a coffee shop.
I don't
and I would
care.
find I would find
I don't care if you used to run a coffee shop. If you
Yeah,
don't
you-
like coffee, I
hold
have
on,
not had
hold on.
enough of an influence on you yet,
have
so
not
you need
li-
to start liking coffee.
Pig, you haven't even let me get to my point. I used to run a coffee shop, and what I do was I'd find the best ways to make a drink without using coffee. My point had it didn't have anything to do with because I ran the coffee shop, I didn't like coffee. That was not my
Why don't you like coffee?
It's too bitter. It doesn't have the flavor that I want it to. Tea tastes better, and tea is a lot easier to deal with. I mean, I've grown to start liking it a little bit better if I were to get it in like with a bunch of different flavors, but coffee on its own is just too bitter for me. That's the reason why
So
I
so
really
my
don't normally
wife
like beer.
my wife hated coffee when we first got married. Now she loves it. Guess who did that?
Are you saying what you did was you emotionally manipulated her into drinking coffee?
No,
Is that what
no.
you're trying to say?
I got her to try it once.
Uh-huh.
Once. And from then on, she was like, I actually like this now.
You got to get the right kind.
Yes, it really does. It is entirely dependent on the kind of coffee. You have really crap coffee out there.
Well, okay,
You have
yeah,
Maxwell House, you have freaking Folgers, you have all these freaking really crappy coffees out there that everybody seems to love. And I'm just like,
My dad did used to get, because he'd get a Honduras every once in a while. He'd get a Honduras white coffee.
a Honduran white coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It
I'll have
was,
to look
it
out
was
for it.
actually not that bad.
It's like but the lighter the roast, the more the caffeine. The darker the roast, the more flavor, but the less caffeine, right?
Mhm.
If you want coffee, if you really want to enjoy coffee, start out with, but you just don't like it because it's too bitter, right? Start out with say a latte. It's half
No,
coffee, it's half milk, and it's got sugar and flavoring in it.
no, like I enjoy myself a caramel macchiato, which is caramel, vanilla, milk, and coffee. Well,
It's basically
espresso.
a latte.
Right, espresso. It's not coffee. Coffee and espresso are two different things. They're made differently completely. No, an espresso is a lot stronger than coffee. When you make
Okay.
like an Americano, you use.
So when you make an espresso, what do you put in the thing that makes that the liquid goes through? Coffee grounds, right?
Are you listen, here's all right.
I like my espresso
yeah.
clear.
We are
Just
kind of
steamed
going
water.
way off topic here. We're going way off topic.
You're right. Okay, let's get back to the article because I just won. But racism is more than prejudice. It's rather the system by which prejudice is encoded into the laws and customs of society. To take an example, not quite random, blah blah blah. I already read that. People of color have no access to the system. There are black politicians.
Fucking goddamn.
There are black lawmakers. There are Indian politicians, as in India, as in Southern Asia. There are Indian politicians. There are Indian lawmakers. There's Native American politicians. Well, there are, but I can't even. Are there? I know there are Native American lawyers.
What's her face
But
doesn't
don't-
count.
there's-
Elizabeth Warren doesn't count. We
No, she's
There's-
whiter than the whitest
there's-
slice you know.
There's Native Hawaiian lawmakers.
Close enough.
So to say that they have that people of color have no access to a system that allows that is, it just blows this whole thing out of the fucking water. This guy needs to take his head out of ass. That's a truth that white men and women often find difficult to process, because they don't have their heads in their asses most of the time. Writer of something of white Southern-born colleague wrote in 1995, the late Michael Browning. Who the hell is Michael Browning? And I were traveling. Who the hell was Michael Browning? And I were traveling the South doing
journalist.
interviews and visiting historic sites for a series of essays on race. Huh. That's okay. In Atlanta, we sat down with Reverend C.T. Vivian, a former aide to the Reverend, and he mentioned a question he said he asked white people in his racial justice seminars. Have you ever gotten down on your knees and asked God to forgive you for your racism?
That's what really got me with this article. That statement right there. That was so frustrating, like just a concept to even try and wrap my head around. Have you ever gotten down on your knees and asked God to forgive you for your racism?
I'm having some fucking university flashbacks here.
Have you ever gotten down on your knees, God to forgive you for your racism? So, I'm going to respond to this really quick. First of all, I'm an atheist. Second of all, I get out on my knees for no one or no thing. All right. All right. I might if my wife asked me really really nicely. Third of all, racism. Don't act. You're acting like this is an original sin.
Well,
Whoa there, Calvin.
No. This
it's not. It's
Th-
not
that's-
just that.
this-
It's just. This is
Oh.
assuming.
Just-
This is assuming that you have committed the act of racism, just as a general thing. Like
it's saying you're racist and
he
you
used-
don't know it.
He didn't like he mentions the question. He said he asked white people, not just racists. He asked white people in general in his racial justice seminars. This was a question he asked to just general white people, whether knowing that they have ever done anything racist.
He just assumes right from the get-go that they've done something racist. I mean, does he ask the black people at his racial justice seminars this question, or
No,
is it
because
just straight
if
white people?
As you read in the beginning, racism is a white problem, and he even alludes to at the beginning of this, but racism is more than just prejudice, which alludes to the idea that racism is against black people, prejudice is against white people, right? Like that theory that racism is not just racism, like being biased or being in any way negative towards...
Here's something that really just strikes me. Am I an inert part? This is a question the author is asking. The Michael is asking himself as he wrote this. Am I an inert part of some vast, weighty boulder of oppression? Do I injure blacks by breathing and just being white? No.
Fucking racial hypochondriac.
No. Isn't
I mean, really?
like this? That's what that was Bill Maher did a show recently with Jordan Peterson, and he said that he said he calls them victim hypochondriacs.
Yes,
Or oppressed
yeah.
hypochondriacs. And it was just that phrase hit me, and I laughed so fucking hard. But yeah, that's what this says. Is like, just that idea is, am I an inert part of some vast, weighty boulder of oppression? Are you? No, you're not, unless you have done something, unless you have done an action to oppress someone. If you have, then sure, you should probably look at yourself for that. But I'm almost 100% sure that these two people, because they actually have it in the Seattle Times, the newspaper itself. They don't have it here. The writer of this was black, and I'm almost sure that if this person with the views that he has would not be traveling with someone who is a racist or who has oppressed black people, like that in itself doesn't make any sense. But do I injure blacks by breathing or just being white? That is such a ridiculously stupid statement. Like, I don't think I've ever heard a more retarded statement in my life.
I can't recall them at the moment, but I have. They're along the same lines, but I have.
This.
It comes back to the sins of the father argument. Sins of the father do not reflect on the son, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's like
no,
so many people are trying to tell white people that it's their fault that slavery existed in the United States and that they must make reparations and everything. It's like, fuck you. I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah.
So, no, I am not responsible for what my ancestors did, and how fucking dare you try to freaking blame me for what they did.
Gotta love that fucking collective guilt, baby.
Right, and like when you keep reading down the second paragraph, it says a kind of puffed up irrigation accessible only by the profoundly entitled and entirely clueless. Think of that look on Sean Hannity's face when he has to discuss, well, anything that has to do with race. He's
It's not just
basically-
Hannity. It's Tucker Carlson too. If you'll notice, he always seems like he's just angry when they're talking about race.
He's got the look of, was this trip really necessary?
I could have been smoking some weed right now. Let's not get into this type thing. Like we could have been having discussions about things that are a lot more important, a lot more based in reality.
Speaking of weed, what's his face, is horrible as he is trying to get votes by saying that he's going to push for the federal decriminalization of marijuana.
Oh, John
Trump?
John Boehner.
Yeah, what's his face?
Whose last name is spelled like Boner. But I swear it's
Yeah, what's
Boehner,
his
you
face?
guys.
I saw something about that, but I thought that was connected to Trump. Hold on.
I'm not sure. I don't think it's Boehner.
It was,
And this has seized up on me. Okay. Oh snap! Something
I
went
think it's
wrong.
John Boehner.
There we go. I'm going to skip through something here.
all right, tell us where you're gonna start off.
So I am 2 paragraphs down, starting with last week. Last week, faced with the public relations disaster noted above, CEO Kevin Johansson did all the expected things. He said what happened was right. How was that expected?
Damage control?
Because we
Question
live
mark?
because we live in a world that likes to morally just go after companies, and so it's probably, I would say it's expected that if a company gets accused of something like racism, for them to apologize and all that kind of thing. You need to make sure you're not getting put in a position where your company is connected to racism.
No,
That will
that's
drive
the
down
thing
sales.
though. That's what it is.
I
though.
understand.
If you freaking give in to these people even just a little bit, it's just going to get worse.
They'll take fucking miles.
The manager for Starbucks did nothing wrong.
Right, but for the way that the companies deal with this, is it's much more beneficial to them to deny it and say it, like he even said, he did the whole "this is not who we are" routine. Much more like you're going to probably have a less of effect on profits.
You know,
if you
the manager of that Starbucks resigned over this shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she did.
I know.
And I think that is exactly the right move that she should have taken, because the company obviously did not stand behind her decision.
Well, but he goes on, and this is leading to his sixth point. But he says, then Johnson did something unexpected.
Yeah, let me
Announced
read it,
the closure-
asshole.
Okay.
Then Johnson did something unexpected, announcing the closure of 8,000 company-owned U.S. stores on the afternoon of May 29th, so that his nearly 175,000 employees can undergo training in preventing implicit bias. I'm sorry, but how is implicit bias calling the police when someone refuses to fucking leave the property when you've asked them to leave?
Jesus Christ.
Because they're black.
Given how difficult it can be to get white people, fuck you. No, moving on. Starbucks deserves credit for one of the most authentic and creative corporate responses in recent memory. Authentic, my
This
fucking
is not
ass.
creative.
The
is not
CEO has
creative.
his head so far up his ass, he's rebreathing from his fucking chest.
Jesus
Okay,
Christ.
so here's the thing. I'm not actually unexpected. This isn't unexpected. Starbucks is one of the most progressive companies I have ever heard of.
Progressive?
Yeah.
Progressive? Please don't
Yes.
use that term and this stuff in the same...
Okay, regressive. I apologize, but
That word is
one of
not
the
allowed
most
in this stream.
Regressive, fucking companies, like the things that they've been doing over like the past year and all that kind of stuff has led me to, when I heard that he was doing this, I wasn't surprised at all by his decision to do this. But still, at
I'm
the same time,
not
it's just-
surprised. Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I think, I honestly believe that their announcement to employ 10,000 refugees would have been a nice gesture if it had actually been refugees that they were hiring,
Yeah.
Right.
not economic migrants, like a very large portion of them probably are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, holy Christ.
Guys, I'm out of beer.
That might be a good thing
Put some
for
water.
your
then.
liver.
I'm out of alcohol.
You're so unprepared.
It's sad. All right, keep
Moving
going.
on.
'cause-
The article's almost over.
Yeah.
And as we are singing praises, let's spare a stanza or two for the white civilians. Civilians?
So, what is this? A fucking war zone? What? What?
At Starbucks, who saw what was happening, whipped out their cell phones to record it and demanded answers from the cop. Okay.
What?
Nor should we forget those who showed up and showed out at subsequent protests.
Right, but they were retarded. Like I can understand.
I can't even stomach the rest of this
I
fucking
can-
article.
I can understand protesting, but they went into the store and just stopped the stores who had nothing to do with like the original store. They just made the lives of these minimum wage
Do
workers
you
who
remember?
had
Do
nothing
you guys?
fucking to do
Look,
with
man,
what
do you guys
actually
remember-
happened.
Do you guys remember that one picture where you had the black chick with the bullhorn pointed right at the face of this white dude, and that white dude's just sitting there with this poker face on, no fucks given look on his
You
face,
can-
like, I don't get paid enough to deal with this.
You can almost see
Ah,
him
well,
swallowing the red pill.
I'm trying not to quit right now. I'm trying not to take that bullhorn from this woman and shove it so far up her ass. She's considered a conehead now.
I fucking love how the response to this is, look, man, it's not your fault, but we're gonna shut your store down.
Right?
You're not getting any today.
You've done nothing
And-
wrong, but fuck you. You're not making any money today.
This tip jar was a privilege. You're getting taken away from you today.
You know
We're
what's
gonna
actually
take these as some
funny is-
reparations, you see? And
it's actually kind of funny because the Starbucks that is inside the store that I work at a gas station and a Safeway, and the main store, the Safeway, has a Starbucks inside it. Do you know how many white people work at that Safeway?
many.
Like
No.
one of them is white. The rest of them are like Latino, Puerto Rican, not Puerto Rican. What's the other P? Filipino.
I think that's spelled with an F, but they're from the Philippines, and so that's a weird thing.
I thought it was a PH.
Hey, Pav.
Yeah, I'm drunk.
I'm messing with your girlfriend again.
I think you're looking for pistachio. That the...
Alright, but so but it's like when I heard about this whole situation, I talked to a few of the employees that like specifically worked for
Pinoy.
specifically worked in just the Starbucks side of it, and they're like, yeah, this is weird. I hope we don't have to deal with this because I really don't want to have to deal with a bunch of people coming in and yelling at us for no reason whatsoever. I mean, I do live in fucking Washington, so it's not unexpected that it would happen. But it's just one of those things.
Almost makes me wish I was still on campus so I could see if the 2 Starbucks locations on campus get closed down.
Oh my god.
Well, remember that they're company owned. They're
True.
company-owned stores. So, I mean, Starbucks is a franchise. You have
the
you have
franchise-
you have a number of them that are owned by people who aren't part of
Mhm.
the company per
Oh
se.
yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, that's like that. Franchises work in a way that's like the subways around here. Subways are owned around here by a company that's based out of another town that's a little bit down around here, and it owns all of them. They basically rent all of the promotional material and all that kind of stuff, and then they get all of their supplies and all of that comes from Safeway itself. Subway, I mean, doesn't actually own the companies. It doesn't run any of them. So it's
all kind of outsourced, if you want to put it that way.
yeah. So like, it's not even on them, which is funny.
All right, what's next on the agenda? Let's move away from this dumpster fire and on to the next one.
So the next article is another opinion piece out of the Seattle Times.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, I can hardly wait.
It is titled "Crony Capitalism and Protectionism Are the Despot's Way," and this was just one of those things. Like, what really caught my attention was actually the art that they used for the opening of this article.
At least
That
this
Trump
article
has a
wasn't
tiny head.
What is with the tiny head and the huge hands? I'm so confused.
This is anatomically incorrect. You're gonna have to send this back to the drawing board. Can't have that shit here.
Good luck.
At least this article was updated, not in the past.
Originally published April 20, 2018 at 3 p.m. Updated April 23rd, 2018 at 4:16 p.m. I wouldn't be surprised if that's... anyways...
It's not time travel.
Alright, take it away, Buck.
All right. Don't be comforted by the health of the economy. The Trump administration's policies and decisions pose a threat
By
to
the
future
way,
prosperity.
This was written by 2 people, so there should be half the mistakes.
I would hope so. I would pray so. All right.
Watch, it turns into double.
What the fuck? What?
Boom, right there.
President Donald Trump has finally figured out a way to make Mexico pay for his border wall. The United States will simply become Mexico.
And this is the
And
reason
the
why I
ultimate
wanted to
accounting
read
gimmick
this.
will finally be complete.
Alright, that's the end of it. There it is,
That's
right
a
there.
wrap.
Drop
We're
mic,
out.
exit stage left. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Locked and Loaded.
Jesus
I
Christ.
read that thing and I'm like, I have to read this tomorrow. We have to get this because it's just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna turn the United States into Mexico, which is just.
Oh no,
Oh
you
my
gotta
God.
read the next one.
Or, rather, it will become more like Mexico circa last century, an authoritarian country that boasted some of the most protectionist trade policies on Earth, and where crony capitalism reigns supreme. If this occurs, we would join a notorious club.
Okay. Are you then saying that our trade policies that protect the United States from becoming a third world country is wrong? Is that
No, what they're saying is that the trade policies that are designed to actually make sure that we get a fair shake, and we're not like, getting taken total advantage of, are going to are you know where I'm going with this. Shut up.
All right, keep going.
All right. At least since World War II, there has been an unholy trinity in which authoritarianism feeds into crony capitalism, and both fuel trade protectionism.
Says who?
Well, it's just
These
like,
people,
I'd like
apparently. All three rely not on the rule of law, which is the linchpin of democracy and well-functioning markets, but on the personal discretion of rulers. Rulers with authoritarian tendencies, or who operate in an in an authoritarian system, use the law to favor their friends and punish their enemies.
No. I think the fact that Trump decided that he wanted to go against like everything Putin said he would be against was it kind of proves that. Like I don't know if we're wanting to talk about the whole Syria thing, but we
I
just
don't know
saw a complete change. We just saw a complete change in the way that Trump was even like viewing the way Putin at all, because Trump at the beginning he's like, yeah, let's be friends with Putin, and then all of a sudden like, yeah, let's go bomb Syria, even though Putin has said multiple times, I will shoot at anyone who bombs Syria. And
Yeah.
and so it's
All I have to say is him in what army? Moving on.
To benefit their friends, these rulers dispense favors, exemptions from regulations, provide subsidies, and extend cheap loans that may never be repaid except by taxpayers. What? They also exempt them from the import tariffs and quotas that everyone else has to abide by.
And yes, this does happen, but this happens in socialist
But
countries.
we're not doing that. We are matching tariffs like
We're matching tariffs.
No, this is completely retarded. Like, especially the way, just Washington as a company alone, like, our governor is completely against Trump, and he has been a part of multiple.
Oh, gee,
different.
Paul, I feel like you chose articles this evening just to trigger me.
I will not deny nor confirm that.
Did you saw him on Bill Maher with Inslee?
That was
Holy
so sad.
fuck!
That made me so sad.
Who put him in office? Not me.
We did.
What?
Apparently.
So okay.
I was watching that and I'm like, this is just disappointing. Like
I kind of missed what you guys were talking about.
Okay,
Sorry.
so
Bill Maher did a show recently with a panel of people, and one of them was Jordan Peterson, and another one was the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, and then another one was our governor, like Mayan Buck's governor.
yeah,
in
Washington State's Governor Jay
Oh,
Inslee.
okay.
And he just, every word that came out of his mouth made me so disappointed. I'm like, wow.
Like going on and on about how the census is about suppressing the minority vote. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, that whole thing. Oh.
If you have kids, tell them to vote in the next election. I'm like, that's illegal.
Yeah, no, he kept.
People
he kept
can't
making
do
statement.
that.
He kept saying things like, kids got it right. Kids agree.
Kids
with
need
this.
to
kids
vote.
Agree with this. And
Like-
get these kids to vote. And I'm just like, who made you?
I didn't vote for you.
What are you? You're.
Holy shit. Oh. On to the article.
Yes, please. Please do continue.
To
I'm just
harm-
gonna go ahead and just zone out here and
Just-
contemplate not murdering something.
To harm their enemies, they expropriate their land, mines, factories, and servers. Servers? What? Tax them into oblivion or hit them with antitrust suits. This is not because their enemies are monopolists who
South
artificial.
Africa?
Qua?
You mean South Africa? Is that what he's talking about?
Oh, they're getting hit with worse than antitrust suits in South Africa. I can tell you that. It's more like clubs. This is not because. This is not because their enemies are monopolists who artificially ration supply and earn monopoly rents. There need to be some commas. in there.
Venezuela, anyone?
But in an inversion of common sense and what's best for consumers because they are competitive and innovative, and therefore pose a threat to authoritarians. I'm gonna stop trying to compute that sentence and just move on.
Yes, please do, because I'm having a hard time.
There's a lot of poorly defined big words in these paragraphs. Authoritarians like to pick winners and losers, not allow the market to do so.
I think you should rename this stream
To what?
Pavaros Revenge.
Pop's Revenge.
Pav's Revenge.
When
What?
the market does so, it diminishes authoritarians' power, which is invested in using regulation, taxation, and the state's courts.
I was giving you shit all the time, that's
yada.
what.
You're interrupting.
Yeah,
me now.
but
Keep going.
fucking
I know.
Trump doesn't do that. That last sentence. When the market does so, it diminishes
Read the
authority.
Read that last
last
sentence
sentence.
again.
When the market does so.
By the way, I really like. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Really? Interrupting
I
me?
really
God damn
like.
it.
When the market does so, it
It's
diminishes.
the simple things in life.
It diminishes authoritarians' power, which is vested in using regulation, taxation, and the state's coercive powers capriciously to flatter themselves and enrich themselves and their friends. Trump has done none of these things.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's not how our country works. Our country does not have that small of a Jesus Christ. Does anybody watch Friended?
Friended forever, you mean?
Yes, Friended Forever.
Kind of
Friended
off and
Forever
on.
Has been, yeah, so he's been posting this video over and over again, and so I think I've watched it like 100 times at this point. But Friended posted this video talking about an understanding politics, and he brought up the Jesus Christ, the theory about the name slipped me. It's about how much like
Slipped inside of you.
The largest he was breaking down
Giggity.
just like the constituents, right?
Constituents?
So constituents. So you have the largest amount, which is the amount of citizens that are within our country, and then the middle, the realistic amount, the amount of people who can vote or who do vote, and then the amount to win. This is like a circle within a circle within a circle within a circle. So I'm working from the outside in, right? And which is the amount of people that you need to support you to win, and then so you have the largest amount, the realistic amount, the amount you need to win. When you deal with when you deal with a democracy,
Nicely done.
Thank you. A democracy normally leads with hundreds of thousands of the realistic amount, and the same number with the amount to win. Is democracy has huge amounts of. Yes. No, I don't know if I'm entirely talking about the Dictator's Handbook. They're Y2K Northwest. But I might be. I am blanking 100% on this video and like all the sources he used to create it. So when you have what he's talking about in this article is he's referencing
We're just awful.
This
Fucking.
it's a new one every week. Have a when you're dealing with dictators, which is what he's referring to, you have a extremely small number of that circle that you need to win. When you're dealing with an actual democracy, you have a really large number. The larger the number, the less totalitarian, the less authoritarian the person who wins can be, or the person who's in charge can be. So in our country, we have a very large amount of people that fit within that how many ever people you need to win circle. Whereas in a dictatorship, like let's say Venezuela, it's a very small, like at most 200. Which
Not even.
right. So he is trying to make it seem like our country is a country with a very small amount of people that we need to win, but the way our democracy works, that is just inherently false.
Republic works.
The way our republic works, it's inherently false. The amount of people that you need to win is a very large amount of number. what was
Don't die.
yeah, don't.
Jesus.
What
Sorry about that.
was people who voted for Trump? Hold on.
Well, here's something that you also have to remember. You really don't need a whole lot of people to vote for you to win. You just need to have the majority of the people who voted for you.
No. So hold on. Trump had 62,979. I think that's what it said.
You have to remember how the Electoral College works.
No. I understand, but this is the point that I'm trying to bring up is the amount of number who voted for him, because that's when you have a country that's extremely totalitarian, it's really small, like with less than 200. Because
Oh, if
the
you're
reason
totalitarian, then you don't need them to vote.
no, you do, and that's the point that he was bringing up, because no ruler can rule alone. A ruler must have people who work with him. Now, the larger that number is, the less power that ruler has, the less authoritarian power that he can control. So when you have something really small, like say in Venezuela, when he was like less than 200, it allowed him to just basically pay off anyone he needed to vote for him, give them tax cuts, give them all these different kinds of things. The way that our republic works is you need a Y2K is probably going to back to school me on this. He says, try living in a multi-part system. The Liberal Party got in under 1/4 on of the total votes, and could have. Can someone please read that? I am not able to read.
Try living in a multi-party system. The Liberal Party got in under 1/4 of the total votes that could have been cast by the electorate, because only about 2/3 of the voters cast ballots. Only 2/3 of the voters actually voted.
Right. Okay. Jesus Christ.
So
I cannot. Keep going.
So, the way the Electoral College works is technically by popular vote in the districts that each, oh crap, I for some reason I wanted to say super chats. So the only votes that actually matter when it comes to the election of the president is the representatives vote. And the representatives vote is supposed to be swayed by the district that they're representing. Right?
Correct.
Mhm.
So the district they represent could vote red, but instead they decide to vote blue. Because that's actually how our republic works. The popular vote really means nothing. That's why people keep getting pissed off where, Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote. However, Trump won the electoral vote because the districts are what matters. If you have more districts voting for one than the other is going to lose. That's how Trump and most Republicans have actually won the presidency, is they lost the popular vote because the more quote unquote liberal areas voted for the Democrat, and the less liberal areas didn't. But the less liberal areas outnumber district wise the more liberal areas. So you have that situation where more people voted for one party, however, because of where they live, or the sheer density of population in that district made it so that it didn't matter. Which is why I love the system that we use.
But Right. So, what I'm not really talking about that. What I'm trying to talk
No,
about.
I understand. I just felt that it was necessary to actually, say that because there are many not understand how our republic works. It is a republic. It is not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic, and it's one of my newer pet peeves. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So what he's talking about when it comes to this kinds of stuff is he is trying to equate the United States to something that has a really small like amount of people that you need to support you to be
Yeah,
able
I
to
mean it's
do
easier to control a small country than a large one, especially a.
no, not just country, just
No,
I
no,
mean
no, I know.
the
Let me.
amount of people who you need to support
Right.
you
So
specifically. I'm not even
Venezuela,
talking about the amount of no, I'm not even talking about the population of the United States. I'm talking about not in that sense at least.
Pav, I know. I was just elaborating a little bit on what.
Okay. So so when you have a country like the United States, the amount of people that you need to support you is extremely large, too large to be able um to just pay off or give out receipts or just like benefits and stuff to support you.
Not only
So
that, but
which is
the what are they called? The candidates are very heavily monitored to prevent something like that from. So Hillary Clinton got away with it up until not too long ago.
right. So what he in that front, the way our country works, it makes his entire statement completely false because that cannot work within our system.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what I was trying to get to.
Now it could easily work in Venezuela's system because they were not a constitutional republic, as far as I'm tracking. Someone correct me because I'm probably wrong.
I don't know if they
Anybody?
are.
I could have swore that they were a constitutional democracy
Let me see
where it
here.
was an actual democracy, so they could actually appeal to the popular vote rather than the electoral vote. But
Mhm.
when whoever he is got into power, the popular vote was with the Socialist Party. Because on paper and in words, socialism is very nice sounding. To each according to their needs, so on and so forth, right? It's really pretty sounding. But
Apparently,
and it
Venezuela is a constitutional republic.
is it?
Right. Let's
Huh.
move on. From
Doesn't
this.
seem
Let's
like
keep
it.
going.
Well, this is
We've kind of lost the plot here.
yeah.
Well, let's
Well,
keep going.
Oh God, where
go
was
go
I?
ahead,
Wait,
Buck.
wait.
We've sidetracked things with our discussion and arguments and yelling at each other enough.
How dare we have a reasonable discussion? Of course.
Well, we were having a reasonable discussion, but you had to just sit there silently and let it continue.
Because it's cool. All right. The purpose of resorting to crony capitalism and trade protectionism is precisely to distort economic decision making. No. In allocating
Wait,
resources.
say that again.
The purpose of resorting to crony capitalism and trade protectionism is precisely to distort economic decision making. Of your own nation or of other nations? Nah. In allocating resources inefficiently, based on politics instead of competition, it creates a system in which supplicating to the ruler to dispense favors and artificially increase your profits is rewarded, instead of competition and innovation. What? This creates a culture of graft and corruption that erodes trust in the law and confidence in politicians to act fairly, prudently, and in the service of the greater good. While market capitalism, trade openness, and democracy do not brook favoritism or exemptions and self-correct to approximate an even playing field where everyone has to play by the rules, the unholy trinity achieves the opposite result. It is explicitly designed to do so. Wait, what's the unholy trinity? Is it market capitalism, trade openness, and democracy?
I have no idea.
Is that
I'm
what they
having
mean
a
by
very
Holy
hard
Trinity?
time trying
Unholy
to follow
Trinity?
this person's path of not logic.
These sentences are so long that by the time you get to the end of them, you forgot where they started. Jesus Christ. Oh. In our new book, Authoritarianism and the Elite Origins of Democracy, we document why and how this is the case. Under most authoritarian regimes, rulers consolidate their own hold on power by indulging in crony capitalism. They often resort to trade protectionism to bolster support among their ruling coalition, which can be comprised of cartels and monopolists that depend on politicized regulations to survive and thrive. But Trump doesn't have any cartels. What the fuck are you on about, mate?
Right. And that's the reason why the premise of this entire article is just completely flawed.
Are they implying that we're eventually going to have a cable TV cartel where we have to, smuggle cable television to other states or get shot? Oh my God. Exploiting cascading tariff structures, they exempt inefficient domestic
The wild panda has
manufacturing.
visited.
Woo!
It is midnight for me, guys.
Oh shit! Yes, it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
Okay, let's
complete it.
finish.
I'll finish
Let's
the
go ahead and
sentence.
finish.
So, exploiting cascading tariff structures, they exempt inefficient domestic manufacturers from import taxes, and if anything, they subsidize them with cheap credit and other inputs to production and exempt them from regulations. Why is this so long? That are reserved for their enemies, including those intended to improve labor conditions, health, safety, and environmental conditions. Exempt them from regulations reserved for their enemies. Wait, are they referring to Tesla? Because Tesla is like 90% robotic. I'm not kidding. It's almost all automated. Like, what? I'm not going to read the rest of this. This is too much of a fucking... I don't know enough
Clusterfuck?
about... Yeah.
This is a massive dumpster fire of the English language.
Yeah,
This was really bad. I feel both of these articles and watching my governor talk the way
You're
he
exacting
just
revenge
made
on me
very
too,
sad.
huh?
Yeah, it's just made me very sad for the state that I
Democracy.
live in.
God damn it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was basically that was my Sunday report, I guess.
Jesus Christ.
And yeah, so to close it off, because I wasn't expecting to read the whole thing. I for me, what this entire article was just, it was an extremely flawed premise that was led by two, so these guys are assistant professors at the University of Chicago of political science.
By the way,
Hmm.
democracy. Can you wrench Jables?
I did.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that seems to be actually, we have at least one article every single show with a fundamentally flawed premise.
I mean,
At least
one that I pick, I guess.
I mean, this whole thing has just made my head hurt. It could be the fact that I drank an entire 24 ounces of 8% alcohol
One of my,
wine cooler thing,
one of my-
Well,
and
that
the
can't
sugar is starting to kick my ass. Yeah, I was actually I was drinking Red's Wicked Watermelon
Ooh,
tonight,
I
and
drank the
it's
same amount of you.
it's a 24 ouncer.
You
I
got
mean,
one of the bombers, or like the big cans.
oh yeah, I got a big
Yeah.
one. I had a big one because it was relatively cheap. It was like 220 while I
Yeah,
was looking for it, and
those
I was
always
just
are.
looking for something interesting, and I've been stuck on a beer binge for the past oh how long have I been? How many shows in a row have I just been drinking straight lager?
3 or
I don't
4,
know.
3 or 4? Yeah,
maybe.
I've been on a lager binge for the past however many weeks, and I decided I wanted to change something. So
This
I
is the
saw
first
it,
time
and
I've
it
ever
was just
gotten
I
a
love
Foster.
watermelon. I love
Mm.
watermelon, so I was like sold. And the flavor is not what I was hoping it would be.
Not Melanie enough.
Yeah, it's a red, so it was appley. It was like
Yeah.
an apple watermelon flavor, and it didn't really.
Mm.
I will. It's it's delicious. It's good enough for it tastes good enough for me to continue drinking it, but not good enough for me to actually buy it again. And that's a sad face for me.
Well, I would suggest if you can find Irish Death, it's really fucking good, and it's really high in percentage of alcohol. Cause I drank a shit ton of it tonight.
Well, if I
I had
really
problems
want,
walking.
if I really want to drink to get drunk, which is what the alcohol's for, I'll just buy a bottle of rum.
Mm.
They'll do the
I'll
same.
just I'll just I'll
Well,
just buy a bottle of Sailor Jerry's 94 proof rum. It's delicious.
I'm one of the crazies who just goes right to Svedka.
I don't really like vodka, so
Tequila.
tequila, you don't want. I
Man,
I drink a lot
so
of
as
tequila.
so as mean as I am, it's all in good fun.
Yeah.
You get me on tequila and it gets like 10, 15 times worse.
You go full Medicare.
I go full Medicare, yeah. Let's just say that. I don't hold anything back. Any little quip, any little insult, any little power burn that pops into my head just shoots out of my mouth before I even realize it.
I don't know if I'd want to be compared to Medicare, to be completely honest, but
I think he's hilarious.
I think he's I think he's
He's definitely an asshole. He's a very
I
and
think
I would
I
laugh if
think
he
he's
came
just
after me.
I think he's just there to just cause drama and spread misinformation.
Start fights.
That's my take on it.
Um,
Whether they need to be there or not, and it pisses me off.
But they're fun
so
fights.
I would actually have to disagree with the misinformation. He doesn't necessarily spread misinformation. In fact, he doesn't really spread information at all. He goes through and he analyzes
He's
and talks about drama. That's what he does. He talks about drama
He's-
that's already there to begin with.
Jim is a very resourceful digger.
He digs and he gets every little bit of what's going on so that he can lay it all out in a sensible way, a way for people to actually figure out things like these two people are fighting and they're saying this. What the fuck happened? And he just is like, "Oh, funny you should ask. This is what happened." That's basically his whole shtick, and it's entertaining. I'll give it that. I'm not. It, if there's serious retardation going on the internet, whether it's YouTube or it's Twitter, Mr. Medicare is going to get a hold of it, and he's going to analyze it, and he's going to put the whole thing into one nice little video or two explaining the whole situation and why it's so retarded to begin with.
Have you seen the whole thing with Medicare and
Baked
Dr.
Alaska.
No, Dr. Random Cam. I don't even care about Baked Alaska.
No
No,
one cares
actually, I
about Baked
haven't.
Alaska.
Dr. Random McCam he just got thrown under the bus by just bullshit from Medicare, and it soured my mouth with everything involving Whitaker.
Well, and you're free to not enjoy his content or like him. I mean, but I am the type of person who will try not to fanboy.
Fucking sick.
I wouldn't even say it was okay. So, have you seen? What video is it? Go watch Dr. Renniken's video on the subject.
Yeah, I'll go watch it. I'll watch it over the next couple of days, and then
'Cause
I'll get back to you.
I don't fanboy over anybody, but
Well,
I
I understand that.
and I'm not. It's called Bully Hunters Exhibit C.
Oh, I
And
watched that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you saw that whole thing.
Oh, wait, Exhibit C is the one where Medicare put out? Or is that
No,
where
no,
I never can put out?
That's Random Cam.
Oh, no, I haven't actually put that one out.
So
watch
watch
that one.
Bully Hunters Exhibit C by Dr. Random Cam, and he walks you through the entire situation. And for me, it was one of those situations where I was just like, "Fuck, this is retarded." And I'm not fanboying over Dr. Random Cam when I say this, or when I viewed this situation, but it was just one of those things for me where I was looking at the whole situation. I decided to go back and look at the tweets. I walked through the whole thing, and I watched the entirety of Dr. Roniken's video, and it just soured the whole thing for Medicare for me, because it was just, you need to watch it. And I would suggest anyone who's out there who has not seen Dr. Roniken's video, Bully Hunters Exhibit C, to go watch this video. It's long, and I understand that some people don't like to watch long videos, but just go watch it. It was a shit show. So that is basically our show.
Yeah, we'll call it there.
Yeah, okay.
Fucking
Ladies
time
and
zones.
gentlemen, we have been your hosts, and surprisingly getting more and more coherent as time goes on. Program manager, Smart Pig,
It's called sobriety.
Sergeant Buck, and Pavaros. We hope that you have enjoyed the show that we have had tonight. We certainly enjoyed it. Stay tuned. Well, not stay tuned, really, but come on back next. Come on back next showtime. That was 2 weeks from now.
So yeah,
Next other Monday.
So for everyone
Monday the 6th.
No. But yeah, so why don't I
Yeah.
put this out there? So for everybody that doesn't know, we do a bi-weekly show on Monday, and it's so just because it has kind of been for a while has been a little bit less consistent. So this will be our consistent format from now on. Bi-weekly, so 2 weeks after today, at 7 p.m.
Schedule, folks.
Pacific Standard Time. Yes, Pacific Standard Time is when we do this. 7 p.m. So normally we end around like 9. So that I am going to be putting out a video because we are creating a separate channel completely for Locked and Loaded called the Locked and Loaded Show.
Yep.
And we will be doing all of our streams from there. Unfortunately, we could not do it today because YouTube's a little bit of a bitch. But hey,
As usual.
we all knew that. But we will be continuing our streams over there, and it will be on a consistent schedule from now on.
Hopefully.
I apologize to everyone who has kind of not been able to keep up with our consistent changes, our time changes.
Life comes at you hard.
Yeah.
It's called work, and
it
it's a
has-
bitch too.
It hasn't been very consistent, and I do apologize for this.
But, you know, if we get a massive audience and can survive off the super chats, that would be great.
So spread that link like cancer, but do it gently.
Don't do it gently. Just go full bore. Go and dry with it.
Watch this.
Would that not be AIDS then?
No,
Yeah.
because we don't subvert the immune system. We just get in there and fuck things up.
Speak for yourself.
Vic, please play us out.
I already did.
Yeah. Oh,
And
okay.
you kind of took over as soon as I was done playing us out, Dick.
All right.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Locked. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.